The weather is playing the Grinch in this drama, and you are a mean one, Mr. Frost, because thousands of flights were delayed by storms yesterday, and trouble with power lines affected Amtrak travelers in the Northeast. More trouble is expected today. Senior national weather correspondent Rob Marciano is getting hazed in the 8-degree weather along the Hudson River north of New York City with the latest. Sorry about that, Rob. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it's all part of being the new guy. You got to take the cold when it comes. But I tell you, at this time of year, I don't mind so much. And getting a little bit of snow over the weekend, most folks didn't mind that either. But a lot of people are going to be traveling this week. 119 million, according to AAA, on planes, trains, and automobiles. Behind me is the Mario Cuomo Bridge, which links the New York Thruway over the Hudson River, and that's going to be very, very crowded this week, no doubt about it. This past weekend was a problem. Friday night to Saturday morning, we had some snow across the Northeast, in some cases up to 6 inches of snow across eastern Massachusetts. That was a problem on the roadways, no doubt about it, but also at the airports. Logan had 1,600 flight delays over the weekend. That led to long lines at TSA as well. So we've got another pulse of snow coming across the Great Lakes. Let's talk about the forecast, and that could cause some problems tonight and through tomorrow. Mostly light snow, but it looks like through Pittsburgh, up through Buffalo, Burlington. That's where you'll see some accumulations. And then tomorrow morning, it does get into the I-95 corridor. And obviously, it's cold right now. We're in the teens. So that's going to be cold enough for at least the start of snow about as far south as Philadelphia. And then I-95, maybe about a half. Not expecting much. You see, it's not a lot. It's a quick mover. It comes through. But it may be enough to get the kids excited and the reindeer excited, especially for tomorrow night. In the west, we've got another system coming in. We had one this past weekend, another rain and snow system from Seattle to Portland, down through Medford, Reading as well. This one may very well get all the way to Southern California, finally getting a little moisture down there. And then the next one coming in tomorrow night, that one really means business with rain, wind, and big waves and heavy snow. So a lot of interstates there, I-5, I-90, I-80 is going to be affected with that. And bridges like this. It's a pretty bridge. Isn't it, Vlad, behind me? It's going to be pretty crowded this weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty, but I'll be hibernating the next couple of weeks, Rob. Thank you very much, my brother. Appreciate it. Now to some breaking news from Washington. Early this morning, President Biden announced he's commuting the sentences of nearly every federal prisoner on death row. That's 37 men. Biden says he could not allow them to be executed by the incoming Trump administration. They will now serve life with no chance of parole. But 3 prisoners will stay on death row. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House with more on this. Ed, good morning.
Vlad, good to see you. President Biden already had a moratorium in place for federal death sentences on crimes other than terrorism and hate crimes, and he's personally opposed to the death penalty, so perhaps this isn't that surprising. But those seeing their sentences commuted include Anthony Battle, sentenced to death in 1997 for killing a prison guard. Brandon Council, sentenced in 2019 for killing 2 bank employees while robbing that bank. And Caboni Savage, sentenced in 2013 for killing 12 people in connection with a drug enterprise. Most of the others were awaiting sentencing in crimes related to the killing of fellow prisoners, or witnesses to crimes, or of prison guards, or for drug-related crimes. But 3 of the 40 on death row will remain there for committing well-known crimes. They are Robert Bowers, sentenced to death last year for the mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Dylan Roof, sentenced in 2017 for killing 9 at the Mother Emanuel Baptist Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, convicted in 2015 for carrying out the Boston Marathon bombing that killed 3 and for shooting and killing a police officer just days later. In a statement this morning about the commutations, the president says he condemns these murderers and, quote, grieves for the victims of their despicable acts. He added he's, quote, more convinced than ever that we must stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level. In good conscience, he adds, I cannot stand back and let a new administration resume executions that I halted. His announcement comes just 4 weeks before President-elect Trump is set to take office, and he surely will have reaction to this throughout the day. Adriana?
Ed, thank you so much. Also breaking, former Congressman Matt Gaetz is suing to stop the release of a House Ethics Committee report, which includes shocking allegations about him. CBS News reviewed a final draft of that report, and our Scott McFarland has more. Scott, good morning.
Hey, Adriana, good morning to you. This report's findings determine there is substantial evidence that Matt Gaetz had sex with a minor, engaged in rampant illicit drug use, and violated multiple state laws. while in office. The report lists payments totaling more than $90,000 to 12 different women between 2017 to 2020 and alleges the money was likely connected to sexual activity and drugs, including cocaine and ecstasy. The committee also obtained testimony that alleges Gates had sex twice with a 17-year-old girl. The victim told the committee she recalled receiving $400 in cash from Gates, which she understood to be payment for sex. Gates is also accused of creating a fake email from his Capitol Hill office for the purpose of purchasing marijuana and referred to drugs as party favors, rolls, and vitamins. The report did not uncover sufficient evidence of violations of federal sex trafficking laws, and Gates has denied any improper conduct, writing last week that his behavior in his 30s may have been embarrassing, though not criminal. The former congressman refused to sit for sworn testimony, only submitting written answers to some of the committee's questions. The committee also alleged he knowingly and willfully sought to impede and obstruct the investigation. The House Ethics Committee had initially voted to keep the report under wraps after Gates resigned from Congress in November and withdrew as Trump's picks to be Attorney General, but they reversed that decision in a vote earlier this month. Adriana?
Scott, thank you so much for that breaking news. And for you guys at home to read more on the House Ethics Report on Matt Gaetz, head to cbsnews.com.
Now to an unsettling incident here in New York City where police are holding a suspect in an attack where a woman on a subway train was set on fire. Police say the suspect was tracked down on a different subway train after yesterday's attack. The crime comes after New York Governor Kathy Hochul promised to make New York subways safer. Michael George has our report, and we must warn you that some of the details are very, very disturbing.
There is no room in civilized society for people like him to be walking around.
Officials in New York credited good police work and tips from the public with the capture of a man accused of a brutal killing. Police say as a subway approached its last stop in Brooklyn yesterday morning, the suspect walked up to a woman who appeared to be sleeping, took out a lighter, and ignited her clothing, engulfing her in flames. He sat nearby on the platform and watched her burn to death as the train sat idle. Police quickly responded as the man, unbeknownst to them, briefly sat there, but it was too late to save her. Police later released these images of the suspect, and hours later, 3 high school-age students called 911, reporting that they saw the suspect on a different subway, leading to his capture. Police say the man, seen in this picture obtained by the New York Post, arrived from Guatemala in 2018, and that they have no reason to believe the suspect and victim knew each other. The incident comes during the city's increased focus on ensuring riders' safety on subways during the holidays. Governor Kathy Hochul sent 250 more National Guard members into the subways last week, ahead of what's a traditionally high tourism period. And police say cameras have been installed in every subway car, and credit that with helping them make their arrest.
I want you to know that this apprehension was another in what has become a series of joint efforts involving different crimes between the police and the public we serve.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Michael George.
Now let's turn to the Middle East, where a U.S. Navy jet was shot down yesterday by a U.S. Navy ship. The friendly fire incident over the Red Sea is a reminder of the risk to U.S. forces in the region since the Israel-Hamas war began last year. Ntiajteb is in Bethlehem in the occupied West Bank. Ntiaj, good morning.
Good morning. Well, both U.S. Navy pilots are safe after ejecting from their Hornet FA-18 aircraft. But the friendly fire incident really just underscores how dangerous the Red Sea corridor has become as Yemen's Houthi rebels continue to carry out attacks on the vital shipping route and well beyond. A U.S. military aircraft takes off into the night sky in video released the day before the friendly fire incident. According to U.S. Central Command, Houthi military sites near the Yemeni capital Sana'a were targeted. On Saturday, the Iranian-backed rebels launched a ballistic missile at central Israel, where at least 16 people were, quote, mildly injured. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to act forcefully against the Houthis, who've been targeting Israel for over a year to pressure it to end its war on Gaza. A war which has left much of the Palestinian territory in ruins. Health officials say over 45,000 Palestinians have been killed. But there is a glimmer of hope. A A ceasefire and hostage release deal appears to be closer now than ever. But until there is an agreement, the fighting continues. CBS News' Gaza team was in the central city of Deir al-Balah following an Israeli strike on a house. At least 11 people from the same family were killed, and many more were wounded.
And U.S. negotiators have expressed optimism. A ceasefire deal is within sight. But overnight, Benny Gantz, a former war cabinet minister, called on Prime Minister Netanyahu to not, quote, sabotage the talks for his own political gain, an accusation he has made against Netanyahu before. Adriana.